on, guys? Welcome back to the Evans Garage. Today I wanted to do a quick review and overview of the Glowshift Elite 10 gauges. So I just wanted to do a video to run through all the features of the Glowshift Elite 10 gauges, as well as how to set up the high and low alerts with the chime buzzers and or just the light alarms. So when I turn on the Elite 10 gauges, this is the startup procedure. So you can turn on or off those audible clicks, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But here's all four of the gauges that I have. They're boost pressure up to 60 psi, fuel pressure up to 30 psi, exhaust gas temperature up to 1500 Fahrenheit, and trans temp up to 260 Fahrenheit. The Elite 10 gauges have 10 different colors. On each one of the fronts of the gauges, there's two buttons. One of them is a set button, one is the color. By clicking the button on the right just once, you can cycle through each of the colors. So there's like a light blue, a purple, that's kind of like a pink, orange, red, that's kind of, oh, this is the one that goes through them all. And then there's another feature that kind of fades through them all. But I'll change it back to white here, so you can set it to whatever you want for colors, and there's a nice selection there. And if you want it to just flow through all the colors, you can also do that as well. All right, so one of the features the Glowshift Elite 10 gauges have is a peak recall. So using my exhaust gas temperature gauge, if you hit the set button, you can go to your last known peak temperature. So this stays as a memory within the gauge. So even if you turn off your vehicle and go to drive the next day, it'll still memorize the peak function just by hitting the set button. And when that lights up the blue peak, that's your max value. If you want to reset the peak value, let's say you're, in between trips and you want to reset it, just hit the set button for your peak value and then hit the color. It'll flash and then reset. So now when I go back, I don't have a new peak value anymore. And you can do that with any of the gauges. All right, so now I'll talk about setting the high or the low warning modes. So if you want to set the high warning mode, it's the color button. And if you want to set the low warning mode, it's the set button. So all you have to do is hold it down, and then it'll go to a peak value. And then when you click the color button, you can move up in very tiny increments, or the set button to move down in tiny increments. If you hold the set button, you'll go down in larger increments. If you hold the color button, you'll go up in large increments. So if I want to set mine at about 1250, I just go to the value that I want and then don't touch anything for about 5 seconds. And then it'll go back, and now you've set your peak value. And it's the same process, but for the lows, you just hold the set button instead and do the same. Select your low value and then don't touch anything, and it'll go back to the base, and that's how you set your low. Okay, now in order to set the audible tones, so not just, okay, right here, like the peak. So if you're in a low warning or a high warning, that will flash. You can't change that to be on or off. That's always on whenever you're above a high warning or below the low min value. If you want to include an audible tone, you can set those. So what you do is, if you want to have an audible tone for the lows, you, from the off position of the gauge, you hold the set button down and hold it and turn back on the gauge until you hear an audible beep, and then that's how you've set it. And then for the highs, you do the same process from the off position, hold the color button down until you hear an audible tone after the gauges have started up. And then once you hear that audible tone, you set your noise or your audible tone for the maximums. So from the off position, I'll do it for this gauge. So let's see if I can, actually, I'll have to hold that, but basically I'll hold it down So there was that extra beep. So I set my audible tone for the maxes there. I'll do it again from the off position. Sorry if you can't see anything there. So holding the color button again. And I got my beep again, so that tells me that my audible tone is set for anything that is my high warning. All right, the last feature that you can set on these gauges is the audible tone when you click the buttons, and as well as starting up your vehicle. So there's a beep every time I hit the button, and if I want to turn that beep off, all I have to do is hold the set and color button and then turn the gauges off. If I want the beeps on, I'll hold the set and color button and then turn the gauges on from the off position. All right, guys, so that's just a quick little run through of all the features of the Glowshift Elite 10 gauges. I've been really impressed with the Elite 10 gauges so far, just from the couple of days that I've had them. The Glowshift Elite 10s actually do have a lot of nice features for their price point. I would definitely recommend trying them out if you're looking into some gauges. They have some nice features that you normally wouldn't get at this price point. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll probably end up doing an update video in a few months from now just to give my long-term impressions on these Glowshift gauges and let you know if I've had any issues and what what sort of tips I have for using them. But anyways, I hope this helps, guys, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. Cheers.